It's a big group of games in EFL League One as a lot of teams try and catch up with games in hand that they have missed over the season. Portsmouth face Barnsley, Bolton Wanderers have a game against Shrewsbury, and two sides down the bottom of Vale and Burton face big games as well as they look to beat the drop. Shall we take a look at the league table and then let's get into it and preview each fixture. So here is the league table. We all know the deal with Portsmouth. A win promotes them and gets them the title. A loss obviously keeps Derby just in the fight. Bolton Wanderers, again, a win gets them back in that automatic promotion fight. A loss means it's completely out of their hands heading into their final two games. And Barnsley, they have the opportunity to go ahead of Peterborough. Obviously, Peterborough do still have a game in hand. And then if we look down at the bottom of the table, the other two big games which I've selected are Burton Albion and Port Vale. Both teams play in midweek, I believe. Both teams play in midweek and have themselves the opportunity to try and climb a little bit further outside the drop. Burton Albion could go above Shrewsbury Town if Bolton Wanderers are to beat them and they beat Cheltenham. Port Vale could obviously close that gap to Burton if Burton fail to win. Cheltenham Town, obviously, they are the team that play Burton. They could close the gap to that safety spot if they're able to win. But shall we get into the first fixture of this midweek set of games? So the first fixture is the important one in League One. Burton Albion currently find themselves 5 points ahead of Cheltenham. Cheltenham do have an extra game in hand, but this is just one of them, and they could find themselves within 2 points of Burton Albion at the end of this fixture. It is at home, and Burton Albion will be hoping that they can take all 3 points, or at least take a draw away from Cheltenham. But is that really going to happen? If we look at the sides head-to-head meetings, and as you can see, Burton Albion takes 6 wins to 4 wins against Cheltenham and 5 draws in there as well. If we go back as close as the 2nd of March, just a few weeks ago, they fell to a 0-0 draw. And they also drew 0-0 last year in April at Cheltenham. Now, is it going to be the same result at home as it was last season, as Burton Albion came away 1-0 victors? But we're not 100% sure on what the result is going to be. But this is what it looks like. These are what the head-to-head looks like. And obviously, if we look at the team form, both sides very similar in form. 4 points out of 15 for relegation threatened Burton and 3 points out of 15 for relegation threatened Cheltenham. Now, Cheltenham have played the likes of Leyton Orient, they've played Exeter, Carlisle and Bristol Rovers. But Burton, they have played similar sides. They've played Port Vale where they lost. They've played Wigan Athletic, Barnsley, a 4-0 thrashing by Oxford and winning on Saturday against Stevenage. So Burton Albion will come into this game full of high hopes. They came away with 3 points away at Stevenage. Are they going to come away with 3 points at home versus Cheltenham on the 16th of April? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you're a Burton fan, if you're a Cheltenham fan, let me know your thoughts. Do you think you're going to be safe come the end of the season? If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner up here. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of April. I know that you can help me do it, so make sure you hit that red button. Let me know your favourite team in the Football League, and I'll catch you in the next part of the video. And the next game that we're going to look at is Port Vale versus Wycombe Wanderers. Now, Wycombe Wanderers picked up a really good win just before the weekend against Derby County. Well, it wasn't a win, it was a draw. It'll feel like a win for them because you know how much Wycombe Wanderers hate Derby. But Port Vale, they're still fighting for their lives for survival under Darren Moore. And the head-to-head of these two sides doesn't read for much importance. Now, 2 wins to 2 with 5 draws, but we know both sides, well, more Port Vale than Wycombe are going to want to win. Now, Wycombe obviously lost in that EFL Trophy final before playing Derby, and they're still on a bit of a run about that fixture. Port Vale obviously coming to this game hoping to pick up 3 points. They're trying to secure safety, and they play at Vale Park. So they're in the perfect place to try and make this happen. If we look at the two head-to-heads, though, you see back in December, it was a 1-1 draw. And then last season, Wycombe took 4 points off Port Vale. And the season before, well, back in 2017-18, took 4 points again there. Now, Do I think Port Vale are going to be able to come away victorious? I personally do not. I think it's going to end up being a draw or a Wycombe win. And if you look at the results, you can probably see why. 4 points from 15 for Port Vale, a 4-2 loss at the weekend. They lost 3-0 to Peterborough just a few days ago as well. And 2-0 to Northampton. A 0-0 draw against Wigan isn't too bad. But if you look at Wycombe Wanderers, they've picked up a 0-0 draw against Blackpool and Derby. Defeats to Portsmouth and Peterborough aren't to be snuffed at. Both really good sides in this league. But a 2-0 win against Shrewsbury Town. Obviously, Wycombe come in higher regard than Port Vale do. But Port Vale are still scrapping for their life down at the bottom of the table. If we just scroll down a little bit, you'll see it on the right-hand side. 40 points. 3 points behind Burton Albion. And realistically, their goal difference is awful. So they need to close up that goal difference so that they can get out of the relegation zone. And a massive one for the League One playoff race. Now, Lincoln City fell to defeat for the first time in 20-odd games under Michael Skubala recently. And Oxford United picked up a thrashing of Peterborough. It was an absolutely delightful performance for Oxford. Lincoln City cannot say the same. Now, if we look at the head-to-heads of these two sides, they haven't drawn in the fixtures that FootMob has. And obviously, it doesn't really give you much of an indication as to who's going to come out on top. 6 wins for Oxford to 5 wins for Lincoln City. The most recent meeting back in October, a 2-0 Oxford win. Now, Oxford, I think at that point, was still under Liam Manning. I could be wrong. You might have to correct me down in the comments, Oxford fans. But, under him, they were a very different outfit, in my opinion. I thought they were a much better side, but they'll be coming into this game full of confidence. Off the back of scoring 5 goals against Peterborough, they'll come into this game thinking, we can secure our playoff position here. As you look at the league table now on the right-hand side, they're 3 points clear into the playoffs with Blackpool 3 points behind. If Lincoln win, obviously it closes that gap down to 2 points, but are Lincoln going to be able to collect 3 points? If we look at the recent form, Oxford have conceded just 1 goal in their previous 5 games, collecting 13 points out of a total 15. Lincoln City, 3 wins, 1 draw and a loss. That is, 9, 11, 10 points out of 15. Not something to be snuffed at. Still really, really good form from Lincoln City, especially when you consider the run they've been on recently. They had to drop off at some point, and it just happened to happen at the weekend against Wigan. And they drew before that against Reading. Are Oxford going to be able to come away with 3 points? They've scored, 13 goals in their previous 3 games. They're in red hot form at the moment. So you let me know your thoughts on this result down in the comment section. While you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for all my latest EFL and Derby County content. We're now going to get into the next fixture. Another big one in this battle for playoffs now. I think Peterborough are pretty much, I think they're safe in the playoffs, I think. Don't quote me on that, I think. And they face Fleetwood Town at home. They'll be looking to get back to winning ways after losing 5-0 in what was a tactical masterclass by Oxford. They absolutely thrashed Peterborough, despite Peterborough having more of the ball, despite Peterborough creating numerous opportunities. Oxford were just the much better side. They were clinical, they took their chances, and Des Buckingham really gave Darren Ferguson a show in that day. But Darren Ferguson will be hoping to turn it around as they face Fleetwood at home this weekend. Obviously, you look, it's not even the weekend, it's midweek, isn't it? So you look at the head-to-head, it's 8 wins to 7 with 2 draws. Peterborough won back in December, but Fleetwood did do the double over them last season, so it is possible that Fleetwood could come away with 3 points. Obviously, the teams are different now, managers are different, but Fleetwood will be hoping that they can collect some points and sort of go down with a fight, because they are in that precarious position of the relegation zone. And if we look at both teams' recent form, you can tell why. A 2-0 win for Fleetwood against Northampton will obviously give them a lift if you look at the league table, but they're still quite far away. It's 6 points from Burton with just 3 games to go. They have to essentially win all of them, in my opinion, and I just can't see that happening. And if you look at the form of both sides, 3 wins, 2 losses for Peterborough, a win, a draw, and 3 losses for Fleetwood. Now, Peterborough were in some really good form for 3 games. They beat Leyton Orient. It was a really good performance. They beat Wycombe. It was a good performance. And they beat Port Vale, another good performance. But they've shown at times this season that they can be beaten. They lost to Derby early on. They lost to Carlisle just a few weeks ago. And a 5-0 defeat to Oxford, as spoken about earlier, was really a tactical masterclass from Oxford. And they really put Peterborough United to the sword. They were clinical with their chances. They created high-quality chances. And that just shows that this Peterborough side, although at times, in my opinion, have been the best team in this league. When they played us at Pride Park, I thought they were the best team that I've seen this season, and I still would say that. I thought they were absolutely excellent, and they just haven't been able to put in enough good performances to get themselves into those automatic promotion places. Now, I think they're pretty much out of it now, because Derby would have to lose a game for them to even get level on points, and the goal difference is far superior at Derby, with it being 38 to Peterborough's 25. Obviously, Bolton, they'll be hoping for a 5-0 win in midweek because they're on 33, and they're going to want every possibility to get above Derby. But is that going to happen? Who knows? What's going to happen in this Peterborough game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. We're going to now get into the next fixture. And as I was just talking about Bolton, here we have their game at home this week. They play Shrewsbury Town, and as you can see, this fixture hasn't really been kind to Shrewsbury, with 7 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. 2 wins for Shrewsbury, 1 draw, 7 wins for Bolton. You know what I was getting at. And Bolton are in pretty decent form. They peppered Portsmouth at the weekend, and if they put in a similar performance against Shrewsbury, there's no reason why they can't come away with an absolutely massive win. Now, I'm really hoping that Shrewsbury pull something off here, because obviously as a Derby County fan, as you can probably tell by the cap, I really want us to get promoted. And if Bolton are to lose or drop points in this game, it really helps our chances. And if we look at the recent form of both sides, Bolton have been in fairly okay form. 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss. Obviously, the loss to Derby County is the one which puts them in the situation where they're now 4 points behind. It could be a point if they win this game, so don't sort of look too much into it right now. But Shrewsbury just 1 win in 5, 2 draws, 2 losses. The loss to Portsmouth, you can't really complain about. The draw with Oxford was brilliant, but it's just one of those games where Shrewsbury Town, if you look at them, are, in my opinion, safe. I can't see 2 teams below them picking up more points than them, so it's one of those. Really, I do think Bolton will probably, realistically, if we're realistic, I do think they'll come away with all 3 points from this fixture. You Bolton fans that watch my videos, let me know your thoughts. Do you think you're going to come out of this one victorious? Because I think you will, but will your heads be down from the weekend's performance? Obviously, putting in a real good shift and really putting Portsmouth in a bad situation, but unable to take away the points. It sometimes really hurts, and I know that for Derby, when we drew at Wycombe and we lost at Northampton, it's like a punch in the gut. And there's ways you can react, and some teams react really well, some teams don't react very well, and we're going to see what Bolton's mettle is. Are they going to be able to flip it around and take 3 points straight away, or are they going to struggle to get the points in this game? We will obviously have a full match review of all these games on probably Wednesday or Thursday, whenever the fixtures finish. So make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned to the channel. Let's take a look into the final fixture that we're going to be previewing for this week of fixtures. Portsmouth head into this one knowing that they can win the title. They face Barnsley at Fratton Park, and they're going to be hoping to come away with all 3 points and the League One title as this game comes to a close. But is that going to be a possibility? Barnsley have been a bit up and down this season, but they have put in some really, really good performances. And obviously, if you look at the league head-to-head, it's 4 wins for Portsmouth, 3 wins for Barnsley, and 3 draws to sort of close out the head-to-heads that this website has. And as you can see, back in September, it was a 3-2 Pompey win, which kept them at the top of the table, I believe, at the time. But we also know last season, Barnsley took 4 points from Portsmouth in what was a bit of a transition year once John Mousinho came in, but Portsmouth at the moment are absolutely flying, and with just 3 games to go, they could have the title wrapped up, or they could fall into the clutches of Derby County. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But obviously, you look at the recent form of the 2 sides, 3 Barnsley losses, and Portsmouth haven't lost in quite a while, in fairness, if I'm right. I'm pretty sure it's been a fairly decent chunk of the season. A 1-1 draw with Bolton Wanderers, massive result for them. Obviously, keeps the race tight at the top end of the table. 3-1 win at Shrewsbury midweek. Was it midweek? Or last week was brilliant. The 2-2 draw with Derby, they came away delighted. Both teams came away from that delighted. Beating Wycombe and Peterborough as well. Really sort of solidified themselves at that top of the table and in the automatic promotion places. And then you look at Barnsley, who are in 5th place, 5 points clear of Blackpool, and they've lost 3 of their 5 games with a draw against Reading in there as well. 3-1 win against Burton Albion, the only real positive out of this recent spell of games. And they sort of seem to be falling. Will they be able to keep their place in the playoffs? Obviously, you've got Oxford United, who are just 2 points behind them now, and then you've got Blackpool, who are only 5 points behind. Obviously, 2 games to go. It's a really tight battle there. So let me know your thoughts about this result in the comments down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're down there. So this week of League One action, well, midweek of League One action, is going to be very interesting. We'll have a full review show out when all the games have been played. We'll get that out the day after. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that one, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.